Well, James Creedon is here for our daily dose of Media Watch now. Good to see you, James.
Likewise, Laura.
We're starting with an absolutely heartbreaking image that has been shared millions of times already on social media sites. This is this young boy, I think he's 5 years old, and he's being rescued from a bombed-out house in Aleppo in Syria. He's then placed in an ambulance, and it absolutely is the most heartbreaking thing, isn't it?
It is, and it's gone totally viral. France 24, because of the graphic nature of the image, has decided not to broadcast it. But that's this is one image that isn't the one that I suppose that is being shared everywhere, where you see him face on, and his face is wounded, and he's covered in dust and debris.
And he touches his head, doesn't he? And
that's right.
It really is awful.
And the New York Times has been looking at how this has touched people so profoundly, and they're talking about gestures that the child uses that are familiar to anyone who has loved a child, tentative, confused movements, the fact that he's wearing a Nickelodeon cartoon t-shirt, his haircut long and floppy on the top, and the instant, inescapable question, they say, of whether a parent was left alive to give him a hug, because in fact the child was carried past 3 dead people on the way to the ambulance.
He looks like he desperately wants to hug him, don't you?
That's
He's
right.
just sitting there tiny and all alone.
I think it instantly pierces the kind of compassion, the human heart, etc. This is a cartoon that has been doing the rounds of social media as well, riffing off it. Now you can see there on the right another little boy who got a lot of media attention last August, September. That was Aylan Kurdi, who of course didn't survive. He was a refugee, and here the terrible choice that the Syrian people are faced with, being boiled down to this particular image. If you stay, you end up being in a situation similar to that of Omran potentially, and if you leave, there's also the risks for many refugees of dying. This is the cartoonist who behind that particular image that got so widely shared, almost as shared really as the original photo. Khalid Albay is his name. Everyone is telling me how sad my cartoon is. Imagine the real situation. Now, you don't see the photo of Omran here, but he has been placed in between photos of world leaders. The photo has become a meme, I suppose you could say. Syrians are tweeting Omran's picture as they ask why the world is doing nothing about killing in Aleppo. Of course, it's Russian airstrikes that are responsible for
and Syrian government airstrikes.
That's right, and I suppose some would then question if maybe the US could do something about it. In any case, the responsibility of politicians, I suppose, are the inaction of some. The overactivity of others is being pointed at.
Well, what we reported on Save the Children's latest warnings yesterday, 100,000 children are trapped in Aleppo, in imminent danger and living like that little boy.
And I suppose statistics can have a cold quality to them. A photo instantly makes people realise the real human suffering.
Yeah.
Another couple of tweets. The drowning of Aylan Kurdi didn't move the world to action. The terror in little Omran's eyes in Aleppo won't either. So some cynical about whether or not this photo will really change anything. The dead Syrian boy on the beach, the bloody Syrian boy in an ambulance, icons for a moment, then the world looks away and killing continues. That's a moot point, and we might come back to it. Sometimes photos can actually stir politicians to action.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone's been saying that actually photos of animals get more compassion.
Well, this is a point of view being being made by Nicholas Kristof in the New York Times. Do you care more about a dog than a refugee? Now, what's interesting about this article, this opinion piece that he published, is it went up online just before the photo of Omran went viral. Now, Nicholas Kristof shares the fact that his family dog, Katie, died at the age of 12. He mourned her passing on social media and received a torrent of touching condolences, as you would expect. Yet on the same day, he published a column calling for greater international efforts to end Syria's suffering and civil war, which has claimed perhaps 470,000 lives so far. The column led to a different torrent of comments, he said, many laced with a harsh indifference. Why should we help them? So I think what's interesting of the timing of this article is immediately afterwards there was a photo that does seem to have elicited that same response. I think when you see a face...
Pictures and words, isn't it? The old cliche.
That's
pictures.
right.
Yeah.
Now, just before we move on, the drowned Syrian boy photo is viral. Anyway, the kind of counterpoint of view is being expressed by a couple of articles in relation to Ilan last August, September. While some are saddened by images such as this, Max Fisher in Vox says that he felt a little uncomfortable, feeling that there is a very thin line between compassion and voyeurism, and this there was indeed quite a lot of criticism from some sources of the Ilan photo, saying this is, after all, the image of a dead body, but it did, you could say, stir. People say nothing came of it. Well, actually, there was a big debate in the aftermath about Europe's response to the refugee crisis.
And arguably that spurred on the deal between the EU and Turkey, the effectiveness of which remains to be seen, but at least there was some kind of...
And there are other examples of photos of people in war-type situations which have... This is a very famous photo from the Vietnam War, in fact, of Pan T. Kim Phuc from 1972, burnt by napalm. And this photo is partly, I suppose, said to have hastened the end of the American involvement in Vietnam. So a photo can sometimes actually have a big impact.
But photos were a lot rarer then, weren't they? You would see them in the newspapers, black and white pictures, a stirring, iconic image. Now there seem to be so many of these hauntingly sad, tragic images, and they go out, like you say, they go around on social media.
They go viral, and they can transfer from one platform to another and almost take on a life of their own, which I suppose poses maybe other ethical questions about the appropriation of an image. But, it is a debate. It is a debate.
All right, James, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much indeed, James.
Thanks a lot.